The Ultimate Fighter 13 finale comes to you from Sin City, Las Vegas.
Every day in the gym, every punch I throw, man, has his name written all over it.
Ringside MMA 11 emanates from Quebec City.
I never fight for fun.
And the Super 6 World Boxing Classic Tournament brings you a title fight from Atlantic City.
Super middleweight champion of the world, WBC, best prize in boxing.
This is Fight Network's preview show.
This is what I'm about, you know, competing at the very highest level.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Sarah Davis for the Fight Network's preview show. MMA analyst John Ramdeen and boxing analyst Corey Erdman will both be joining me later in the show to break down the fights. The Ultimate Fighter 13 finale takes place at the Palms Casino and Resort in Las Vegas this weekend, and the best matchup that you're going to want to watch is Clay Guida taking on Anthony Pettis, because the winner of this bout is going to be the #1 contender for the lightweight title.
Shaggy-haired Clay Guida has a 28-11 record, and he's coming off 3 straight wins, all by submission. For Anthony Pettis, who has an MMA record of 13-1, this will be his first UFC fight after being the last fighter to hold the last WEC lightweight title. In his most recent bout, Pettis used what has been coined a Showtime kick on Ben Henderson in one of the year's most memorable highlights.
I think I might have to take Clay on that one. I think he'll probably take him down and grind him out and ground and pound him and beat him up.
The highly anticipated third encounter between current lightweight champion Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard continues to wait in the wings. But in the meantime, future title contenders are being created. Jockeying for the 155-pound division's #1 contender spot are 2 exciting and fast-paced fighters in Clay Guida and Anthony Showtime Pettis. A 6-year veteran of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Guida has taken on several of the top names in the business. Upon entering the UFC, the Rockford, Illinois native entertained fans with his wild, brawling style and tremendous heart. But it wasn't until the move to Jackson's MMA in New Mexico that he was able to focus on his skills and properly utilize his wrestling to secure wins.
I'm here because of wrestling. I'm here because I was submitting and TKOing people, years ago, and I'm doing it again. Mike Winklejohn and Greg Jackson have just, tweaked a few things that are making me more confident and getting back to the old ways.
Though Guida has faced top-caliber opponents and often came close to reaching the spot of #1 contender, he has been unsuccessful in securing a title shot. With 3 consecutive submission wins over Shannon Gugarty, Rafael Dos Anjos, and Takanori Gomi, the scrappy wrestler has another chance to claim that spot. But standing in his way is a young up-and-comer.
Showtime is going to be no time once I get in there, so I'm pretty excited about it. Very tough kid, but the WEC and the UFC merger is going to show you. I'm going to show you what the UFC is all about.
Making a name for himself in the now-defunct WEC, Pettis reached star status with the head kick heard around the world, aptly dubbed the Showtime kick. Under the tutelage of Duke Rufus, training alongside premier strikers like Pat Barry and Alan Belcher, his creative stand-up game is a very dangerous tool. But he will have to pick his shots carefully against a smothering wrestler like Guida, who is yet to be knocked out in his career. Though Pettis holds backgrounds in Taekwondo, Muay Thai, and Capoeira, the 24-year-old has not ignored his ground game. He currently holds a higher submission win ratio, and this could be the key to victory since the majority of Guida's losses have come by submission.
Beating Anthony Pettis is going to be another notch in my belt that gets me closer to the lightweight belt.
It's a bout that pits 2 hungry fighters itching to claim the premier prize in the sport. The winner will become the #1 contender for the lightweight title, and a difficult challenge for the winner of Edgar versus Maynard 3.
MMA analyst John Ramdeen joins me now. And John, let's break down this fight. Guida is known for his relentless pressure, his outstanding stamina. Is Pettis going to be able to keep up with him if it goes all 3 rounds?
I believe so. All you have to do is go back and look at his fight with Ben Henderson. Ben Henderson, very similar to Clay Guida. He's relentless, he has great wrestling, and he's well conditioned. So I think Anthony Pettis will be able to hang with Clay Guida if this fight goes 3 rounds.
And we also saw that crazy Showtime kick from Pettis on Ben Henderson.
Hopefully we get to see something like that again. He prides himself. His camp says that there's so many kicks in their arsenals, and they're just waiting to showcase it.
Okay, well, Pettis on a 4-fight winning streak, and he has fought a number of wrestlers recently. Guida's a wrestler. It seems like Pettis is going to be pretty prepared for this fight.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to go back and look at his fight with Shane Roller, one of the best wrestlers in all of mixed martial arts. Also, we know that Bellator welterweight champion Ben Askren spent time training with Anthony Pettis, so I expect him to be very well prepared for this fight.
Okay, now what about Guida's hair? I feel like it's going to hold him back.
He says it's like Samson. You cut off his hair, you cut off the power. So he uses that, he channels the energy, and he's been successful so far.
Okay, well, if I were him, I'd put it in a ponytail. Who is going to win this fight?
Again, it really is a pick-em. It comes down to game plans. Clay Guida obviously wants to close the distance, get very close to Anthony Pettis to not give him any space to use some of those amazing kicks and amazing strikes that he has. So if he can do that, close the distance, keep the pressure on, he can win a decision. I think Anthony Pettis is going to try to use that distance. He's going to showcase those kicks because if it goes down to the ground, he's very competent off of his back, but a very evenly matched fight. And I'm going to have to give the edge to the youngster, Anthony Pettis, because he's so explosive and he has a well-rounded skill set.
In a featherweight bout, striker George Roop, who's sitting at 11-7-1, takes on submission specialist Josh Crispy, who owns a 14-2 record. Roop most recently lost to Mark Hominick, but won knockout of the night honors at WEC 51 in September for his head kick on Chan Sung Jung. Crispy holds notable wins over Hominick and former UFC lightweight champion Jens Pulver. Recent WEC bantamweight title contender Scott Jorgensen will battle it out with Ken Stone as both fighters are making their UFC debuts. Jorgensen was on a 5-fight win streak until current title holder Dominic Cruz snapped it, while Stone has only suffered 2 losses in his career. Former WEC fighter Daniel Downs, who replaces an injured Jonathan Brookins, is making his UFC debut with an 8-1 record, while Jeremy Stevens is currently on a 3-1 run with the promotion. Stevens most recently earned his 3rd KO of the night bonus check at UFC 125 with his stoppage of Marcus Davis. Ultimate Fighter 3 finalist Ed Herman enters his first UFC fight in almost 2 years as he meets Tim Crater in a middleweight bout. Crater has been on hiatus almost as long as Herman, who holds a 21-9 record, while Crater sits at 12-3 with 9 wins by submission. Brazilian Fabio Maldonado takes on Kyle Kingsbury in a light heavyweight matchup. Maldonado, whose 10 of 18 career wins come by TKO, is on an 11-fight winning streak. Kingsbury's coming off a TKO victory over Ricardo Romero just 21 seconds into their fight at UFC 126 in February. The Cage veteran Ruben Duran will face Francisco Rivera, who's making his UFC debut. He holds a 7-3 record, having knocked out more than half of his career opponents, and Rivera was on a 4-fight winning streak until Takeya Mizugaki snapped it at UFC Live 3.
Going down in Quebec City at La Coliseum Pepsi is Ringside MMA 11 featuring Patrick the Predator Cote taking on Todd the Bulldog Brown. The co-main event will see former NHL enforcer Donald Brashear taking on 0-1 Steve Bégin. The Quebec-based promotion will also crown an inaugural bantamweight champion.
Another installment of Ringside MMA comes to you from Quebec City, Canada, with the prelims airing live on Fight Network. In the main event, UFC veteran Patrick the Predator Cote steps back into the cage and will look to put together his 2nd straight win under the Ringside banner. The French-Canadian tests his skills against the 15-3-1 Todd Brown, who was dropped to middleweight after back-to-back losses in the UFC. Though the Bulldog Fight Team product has a background in Muay Thai, the majority of wins have come by submission. Conversely, Cote possesses strong boxing skills, and he is known for having knockout power in both hands, but it has been a while since the Predator recorded a KO win. Cote enters this bout with the home field advantage as he looks to rebuild his reputation and a new winning streak. In the co-main event, former NHL tough guy Donald Brashear makes his mixed martial arts debut at the age of 39. Though it is a new sport for the American, he will not let the first-time jitters get to him.
I was used to fight in front of 22,000 people, 25,000 people, so it's nothing new to me.
Just the thought of being hit by one of those punches from those 2 guys, scary.
The way I am is once I get in the ring, I don't really hear what's going on the outside, so I get in the zone and I get through it.
Brashear is no stranger to the Francophone province, having played in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League early in his career, and later making it to the Montreal Canadiens roster. Having previously trained alongside former WBC and WBA heavyweight champion Joe Frazier and compiling an amateur boxing record of 2-1, Brashear will utilize these skills in the cage in hopes of securing his first mixed martial arts win.
Accidentally, no accident there!
You know, I used to fight with just my fists, but now it's legs, elbows, everything flies, and it's pretty interesting, and it's a dangerous sport.
In other action, the inaugural Ringside Bantamweight Championship is on the line as Stefan Peltier battles speedy gym pupil Dimitri Wardenberg. Wardenberg is on a 5-fight winning streak with 3 of those wins coming by way of TKO. Meanwhile, Peltier is coming off decisive back-to-back wins of his own. All the action goes down Saturday night from the Coliseum in Quebec City, and the prelims air right here on Fight Network.
If Cote goes on to win this fight, is this going to give him another shot at the UFC?
Not necessarily. Cote has to go out and put on a great performance. He has to end things in the first or second round. Yes, Brown has fought in the UFC before, but only the hardcore fans know who this guy is. So Cote has to go out there, and the way to do that, keep this fight standing, use his big power to take out Brown. If the fight goes down to the ground, Brown could have the edge, but Cote working diligently on his ground defense. So expect Cote to sprawl and brawl, keep it standing, and go for the first or second round knockout.
Sprawl and brawl, I love it. Now, Donald Brashear making his MMA debut. What can we expect to see from him?
I think there's no surprises. Donald Brashear wants to stand and trade, do exactly what he did in the NHL, and go for the knockout early in this fight.
I can only imagine, though, fighting on the ice, fighting in the cage is totally different.
Very, very different. Brashear was training at the Nordic Fight Club, getting ready for this fight, so I'm sure he'll be prepared. Of course, he wants to put on a great show in his own backyard.
Okay, Ringside MMA, there's a lot of up-and-comers that make their professional debut here. Seems that this tends to be a bit of a springboard for these fighters to bigger and better things.
Exactly. Ringside doing exactly what they need to do to build their own brand. A lot of fighters, like you said, John McDessie, Dustin Poirier, and Sean Pearson have all gone on to fight in the UFC. So a good opportunity for the young crop of talent coming out of Quebec and other places in Canada. So if they can showcase their skills, I'm sure the UFC's upper brass will notice.
After the break, when Corey Erdman joins me to break down the semifinal matchup of the Super 6 World Boxing Classic as Froch defends his WBC middleweight title against Glen Johnson.
He's going to come and mean business, and trust me, he's going to get the full Carl Froch on the night, and it's going to work.
Now look at the Super 6 World Boxing Classic, where the second semifinal fight will be going down in Atlantic City this weekend.
Britain's Carl Froch will put his WBC Super Middleweight Championship on the line when he takes on Jamaican Glen Johnson. Froch has won 20 of his 27 victories by knockout and only has one loss to his name, while Johnson, at 42 years old, replaced Mikhail Kessler in the final stage and won by TKO over Alan Green to earn a spot at this single elimination round.
The stage has been set for the second semifinal of the Elite Super 6 tournament, where Carl the Cobra Froch gets ready to take on the road warrior Glen Johnson. In the opening round of the Super 6 tournament, Carl Froch tasted the canvas for the very first time in his career.
Taylor moving in. Froch is hurt. Right hand, and Froch goes down.
His second fight saw him defend his title once again against challenger Andre Durrell.
Big hook by Froch. That's the kind of punch that can turn it around again. Working again, working. Froch's got to make this thing ugly now.
In what would have been his third straight title defense, Froch dropped a unanimous decision to the Dutch warrior Mikhail Kessler and lost his coveted title.
Kessler, busy hands.
In the quarterfinal, Froch was once again able to take the vacant WBC Super Middleweight belt back to England.
Carl Froch has done just about everything to put Abraham on the seat of his pants.
In what might have been his toughest fight to date, Carl Froch is preparing to take on the very aggressive yet aging Glen Johnson in the semifinal. Brought into the tournament due to injuries, Johnson has looked spectacular. In the quarterfinals of the tournament, Johnson squared off against hard-hitting friend and former training partner Alan Green.
Oh, down goes Alan Green. Oh, no. Gets in the back of the head. It's over. It's over. 5, 6, get up and get out. And it's over.
With a great work ethic, Glen Johnson must use his very aggressive style to throw off the rhythm of Froch. With a good chin and never-ending supply of energy, the road warrior will have to keep the fight at a very high pace and use that to his advantage to wear the champion down. Froch's boxing skills and footwork will both prove to be his key weapons. He does have power in his hands, along with a great long jab and a crisp straight right. These tools will be the key to effectively stopping the aggressive Johnson. Froch will have to avoid a brawl with Johnson, which is the type of fight that is tailor-made for the aging veteran. Both fighters have a lot to prove come June 4th. Will the world witness another miraculous upset, or will the crafty champion end the tournament dreams of the aging veteran, Glen Johnson?
Boxing analyst Corey Erdman joins me now. So Corey, Froch has said he's in such good shape that he could literally go 25 rounds. How many rounds do you think this bout will actually go to, and can Johnson keep up with him?
I think he definitely can. I think it will go the distance because neither of these guys have destructive power at super middleweight. I think that Johnson is really going to look to push that pace and test Carl Froch's stamina, But Johnson did look a little bit sluggish against Alan Green. That's not to say that he can't go the distance, but I think that Froch is going to be the one dictating the pace of this fight with his jab, and I think that it's going to be Johnson that's going to have to keep up with Carl Froch in this fight.
What would it mean to the super middleweight world if Johnson indeed did win at 42 years old?
It would be a shock. I mean, Glen Johnson was not in this tournament. Nobody thought that Glen Johnson, at 42 years of age, having fought at light heavyweight for 10 years, would be able to cut back to super middleweight and be successful in any way. It would be a complete shock, and really this nice little pocket that we have of 6 or 7 competitive world-class super middleweights, it just goes on for longer if we get upsets like this. So, you know what, the super middleweight world, the boxing world, in some ways you got to root for Glen Johnson, because it would be pretty neat if a 42-year-old could pull this off.
All right, now Andre Ward is in the final. Who has a better shot against him, Froch or Johnson?
I think that Froch has a better shot against Andre Ward. He's younger. He's probably fresher at super middleweight, as I mentioned before. And Froch has that great jab, and I think that he could push Andre Ward back, and might be the only way to do that is with that jab. I don't think that Glen Johnson coming forward and applying pressure would do much against Andre Ward. In fact, I think Ward would probably push him back. So I think Froch probably has the better shot, and really that's the matchup that a lot of people were hoping for at the outset of this tournament, so I think it's Carl.
The WBC middleweight title is on the line at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Current champion Sebastian Zibic is making his U.S. debut against Mexico's son of the legend, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. As both fighters are undefeated, Chavez Jr. hopes to take the title in the city where his father, the legendary Julio Cesar Chavez, won his first championship back in 1984. For 14 months with an eye injury sustained during a bout with Andre Ward, Mikhail Kessler's making his comeback when he battles Mehdi Bouadla on Showtime. Kessler sits at an impressive 43-2 over Bouadla's 22-3.
Chavez Jr., he's undefeated, son of a legend. Has he really been tested, though, up until this point?
Not really, but you can't blame the guy, because he came into the sport with no amateur experience, and he came into boxing because of what you said. He's the son of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He's a draw, and people want to see him, so they've moved him very carefully. They've made sure that he's been undefeated up until this point, waiting for that world title shot, and here it is. So you know what? For all the complaints that people have, Julio Cesar Chavez does deserve to be in the main event spot, because it's going to draw big ratings. It'll probably have better ratings than Froch and Johnson will. So he is deserving of this spot. And really, when has boxing been about what people deserve? He's in this spot because people want to watch him fight.
For Zibic, this is his first fight in the U.S. What should we know about him, and what can we see from him?
He's not your typical boring German fighter. In fact, Zibic loves to stand in the middle of the ring, and he wants to trade punches, but he's not very good on the inside, and that's something that Chavez Jr. loves to do. Even though Chavez Jr. is a tall middleweight, he still likes to get on the inside, and in fact, it works well and in his favor in this fight. If he can get inside on Zibic, I think he makes it a fairly easy night on himself, but if he wants to stand and trade jabs, Zibic might have a little bit too much experience and defensive savvy for Chavez in this one.
Mikhail Kessler, he originally had to drop out of the tournament due to an eye injury. So whether he wins or loses, what's next for him?
It seems that Kessler versus Lucien Boutte is the next probable step. I mean, he's in there against Bouadla, who has really never faced anyone. In fact, the last time out, he fought a guy who was 5-10. So the competition here is not stiff for Mikhail Kessler, and Showtime would love to have Kessler versus Boutte next to go along with that super middleweight little circle they have going on. So that seems to be the plan. He's not in tough whatsoever, and it's Boutte up next.
Stay with us, because after the break, we'll take a closer look at the Nordic Fight Club, where former NHL enforcer Donald Brashear is training for his MMA debut.
Heavyweights drop the gloves and go at it early.
Back to ringside. John, you got a chance to spend some time with Donald Brashear and his fighting team. Tell me what it was like to kind of go behind the scenes with him.
It was very interesting. 4 guys, of course, going to be competing on the card, led by Danny Laflamme, who will be fighting live right here on Fight Network. So it's great to see these guys get together and try to help each other rise the ranks of mixed martial arts, and they get to showcase their skills in their own backyard, something they're doing for the very first time. We'll take a closer look.
More than a decade after his professional mixed martial arts debut, Nordic Fight Club owner Danny Laflamme steps into the cage for the last time when he meets Team Shredder representative Justin Doyon in a 170-pound pairing. After years of hard work and dedication to the martial arts, the 40-year-old Quebec City resident will have an opportunity to showcase his abilities in his own backyard.
It's a long time that I fight. 4 years ago, I didn't fight because I opened the academy here and a lot of work. I never be so ready, and I know Justin is a good boxer, so I have a strategy for him. I'm healthy. Everything goes all right. For sure, I want to show what I have in me, and for sure, I look for the W.
As one door closes, another opens for the likable French Canadian. 3 of his students will look to make their coach proud, as well as forge their own mixed martial arts paths. Although it will be the end of an era for Laflamme and marks the beginning of a new journey for Jerome Martin, who will be making his professional mixed martial arts debut.
Danny, he's been teaching me a lot, and I've learned a lot from him, not only in training with the physical abilities that he has, but with the mental part of the game too. I just need to do my best and work hard and give a good fight to the fans, and hopefully get out with the win.
Also training at the academy is former NHL enforcer Donald Brashear, who will be fighting in his first professional bout at the age of 39.
First, I got a message on Facebook from Johan, and asked me if I would be interested in some MMA, and I thought about it a little bit, and I thought it would be interesting. You have to have a lot of respect for those guys. I mean, they're tough, but they're also pretty athletic, and they can do all sorts of things, and that can get you in trouble.
You have a good stamina, and you learn very fast, and I think you're going to give the people, the fan, a good fight.
A team bound by friendship, respect, and a mutual understanding. You hope to get out as much as you put in.
We're about 10 athletes, so it's really like a family. We love each other and hate each other just like brothers.
Got Ringside MMA 11 this Saturday live with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. If you'd like to see our schedule online, visit fightnetwork.com. And on behalf of the Fight Network, I'd like to thank the Ballroom for letting us use their space. And thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.
It means everything to me in a minute. The Super 6 tournament. It's my life. Now at this stage, it's all about the semi-final. Like getting this one done and dusted in style.
3, 2, 1, that's right. This is a great opportunity for me, and I feel good. I'm energetic. Believe my skills are coming together nicely.
It's on now, baby. We in it to win it.
This segment on the Fight Network is brought to you by The Ballroom, downtown Toronto's newest interactive entertainment center.